Hey there, this is Jamie Pelaez, and I want to first say I am so sorry that I have not made another video until today. Actually, there was a couple times that I attempted to, and I wanted to do one outside, and the weather was bad, and just numerous things that I personally allowed to get in my way. As a matter of fact, since I declared that I was going to start making these videos, it seems like it's been one thing after another. And so that's actually what I want to talk a little bit about today. Since I declared that I would start sharing my story about being in an abusive marriage for 7 years, what it was like to also lose a child who was full-term stillborn, as well as, promoting this webinar that we're doing to spread awareness about Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is for the month of October, which is almost over. It seems to me that all kinds of interesting things have been coming up. I've had, nightmares about my ex-husband. I've had, visions of what it would have been like if I would have, went to the hospital the night before I lost my son and, ignored my husband who, was berating me at the time, and all these different things, what would have happened, and just very, very emotional things that have been taking place, which I will definitely share with you. But the biggest lesson, as well as the biggest lesson that I've learned is that when you are on the right path and you're trying to do something good, the devil, and if you don't believe in the devil, that's okay, but you've probably noticed that what they call the devil, the shaitan, the hashatan, whatever you want to call him, or even if you don't believe in them all, you probably notice that when you are getting ready to do something major that can impact many lives and help many people, that all of a sudden roadblocks start happening. I don't mean like physical, literal roadblocks, though. Those could absolutely happen too. But I mean things that try to throw you off of your path, to try to not get you to do what you said you were going to do, or, start a project that you were going to start, and so on and so forth. Anytime you're going to go through a major breakthrough in your life, whether it's going to help you personally or help someone else, or, even help yourself and someone else, it seems that there's always something that comes up trying to detour you from getting to that destination. And that's exactly what I experienced, even to the point that, my ex-husband wrote back to me. And part of that was my fault. I had sent him a text message on our son's, would have been our son's 9th year birthday, which was October 6th. And everything I said was very heartfelt. Like, I meant every word that I said. I wasn't trying to be rude, and I was just pouring out my emotions. I did pray before I sent the message, to see if it was okay for me to be sending this message, if I should be sending this message. And he actually didn't respond back for a while, and when he did, it wasn't a very nice message back. Not only did he try to twist everything that I said and whatnot, he also tried to twist things from a previous conversation that we had last had, and was just trying to belittle me, put me down, and try to control me yet again. And thank God it didn't work, but it did get to me. Like, I let it fester for a moment there. And I will say one thing that makes me very happy is that as time goes on, as I work on myself spiritually, physically, these things become less of a hindrance. It's harder for him to derail me. It's harder for him to get to me. And I think that he actually knows that, and I think it bugs him to an extent, and I think that's why I don't hear from him as often as I used to. But when I do, I feel like he's like full on force of trying to break me down, trying to put me back, and feeling sorry for him. And I did for a hot minute. Even if you've been in a bad relationship, you've been married for a long time, it is hard not to still be sympathetic towards that person, even when they've harmed you. There's been, situations, there's actually something called Stockholm Syndrome, where you have sympathy for the person that is hurting you. So, like, there's even, a psychological term for it. But, take that with your aggressor being someone that you married, you've had children with, And yes, despite a lot of bad, there were good days as well. I'm not gonna, say, oh my God, like every day was a living nightmare. It was a living nightmare, and the fact that you never knew if he was going to be okay from one day to the next, because he had PTSD and he was bipolar, and now apparently, the past year has been diagnosed with being schizophrenic as well. So, as well as having borderline personality disorders and being a sex addict, and I could go on. But I think you get my point. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen from day to day, let alone from, minute to minute. So I let those things get to me. There was, these dreams I was having, these text messages coming from him, and him clearly trying to play mind tricks with me and trying to make me feel bad for him and try to control me. It did get to me, and just this time of year is a little bit rough for me. I'm not gonna lie. When this time of year comes, certain, feels in the air and scents bring it all back. I have, flashbacks to, the day before I went to the hospital, the day I was at the hospital, weeks before that, some weird dreams that I had had, all kinds of different things, just kind of play on your memory and your heartstrings. And so that was what's happened to me. And here, I want to make these videos from a place of empowerment to help you. And I'm, crumbling as I speak, so it was really frustrating. And I was letting that get to me. I was letting, that devil, whisper in my ear, telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not strong enough to do this. Who am I to think I should have the right to be doing this, and so on and so forth. And so what I want to say to you is that it's okay to fall down. It's absolutely okay to fall down. No one is perfect. You're going to fall down in life, and that's okay. But when you fall down, what happens? Do you allow yourself to wallow for a little bit? Because I did, I don't always do that, but I definitely did this month. I allowed myself to wallow for a little bit. Do you feel sorry for yourself? How is it that you react during that time? And more importantly, once you get up, do you learn the lesson? Do you learn the lesson from that? Are you going to keep repeating that same action? Now, I know for me personally, being in an abusive marriage for as long as I was, that it seems to me that every time you think, all right, I'm good, I'm doing good, I'm on that good path of healing and growing and everything's okay, it seems like something just like, boom, magically appears, and it's like, hey, you're not as far as you thought you were yet, and that's okay too. Like, that's part of the growing process, is that sometimes you think that you're doing really great, and then you find out, hey, there's still some work I need to do on this issue. And the main thing I want to say is, don't beat yourself up, because even if you don't believe in the shaitan, the devil, evil forces versus good, that's okay. But trust me, there are people in this life that do not want to see you succeed, whether you believe in, the spiritual realm or not. There are people that do not want to see you succeed. They don't want to see you be successful. They don't want to see you be empowered, and they don't want to see you overcome things like abuse or anything else traumatic, especially when it's your abuser and they haven't learned their lesson and they don't take responsibility for what they've done to you, because maybe they have mental problems. Maybe they really just don't care, and that they're that kind of bad of a person that they just don't want to take responsibility for that. And generally, those type of people do not want to see you lifted up and helping other people overcome the same things that you went through, let alone anything else. So don't beat yourself up when you fall down, and it will happen at some point of time. The best thing to do is find ways to dust yourself off faster every single time and get up and keep going and keep going and keep going. And if you do that, yes, there's going to be times you take a couple steps back, but you're going to keep going forward and you will eventually get to that goal. So my promise to you is, like I said, I'm not going to promise a specific amount of videos, a specific amount of times. I don't even know when I do the videos exactly what I will be speaking to you about. However, until that actual time comes, obviously when I decide to sit down and do a video, I do know what I'm talking about. But I kind of let things just happen organically. As I feel moved in the spirit, I'm going to make these videos, and I'm going to kick myself in the butt personally to make sure that I get more videos done, because there were times I felt like I needed to do videos and I allowed those you know, those things to keep me down. You know, whether it was getting, you know, a text message from my ex being not so nice, or I had a nightmare, or this or that, you know. So my promise to you as well as to myself is to get back up faster. It shouldn't have been, you know, several weeks, I think it's 3 weeks or something since I made my last video. That's just not acceptable in my book. And you got to start somewhere. You got to start small. So if there's something that has been a proverbial pit hole, you know, in your road that you just keep falling in for whatever reason, address it. Why do I keep falling into this pit hole? Why is it taking me so long to get out of it? You know, why am I allowing myself to wallow in this self-pity or whatever the case may be? Figure these things out, because the sooner you figure it out, the sooner you can address it, the sooner you can say, you know what, I'm not okay with this. Because that's what I started thinking about. I said, you know, am I okay with the fact that it's been 3 weeks since I've done a video? No. And you know what, when I sat down to do this video, I didn't want to do it any more than I did last week or the week before that. But I made myself say, you know what, you made this commitment. You need to do this for yourself and for other people. There's a reason that you've been called to do these things. There's a reason you went through the things that you went through. And I personally don't want all the bad things that have happened in my life to be in vain. I don't know about you, but it makes me feel at least a little bit better if somehow, some way, through my pain and the crappy things I dealt with, if it helps one person, it makes it all worth it. So don't beat yourself up. Know that there are going to be those pit holes in your road onto your destination, and when you're on the right track, there are going to be outside forces that are looking to detour you from that path. And know it's going to happen. Be aware of it. Don't freak out about it. Just realize in the back of your mind, this may or may not happen, and that way when it does, you're not going to be totally, you know, derailed from your path. You can address it. You can look at it and say, you know what, you're not worth me not living my purpose. You're not worth me not doing the things I promised. You're not worth me, you know, being upset and crying, because you know what? I've cried enough about this. And that's where I realized, you know what? I have beat myself up about this enough. I've cried about this enough. I have blamed myself for putting myself in the situation enough. Clearly, there's nothing I can do. I don't have a time machine. Do you have a time machine? I don't have one. If you got one, you know, message me below, email me something. You can find my information online. Facebook me. Let me know, because, you know, I wouldn't mind borrowing it. But anyways, but I don't have one. And since I don't have one, there's nothing I can do. I can't go back and change what's happened. All I can do is learn from my mistakes from the past, learn from the lesson, and keep moving forward. Knowing that I'm not perfect and that I may make mistakes, and loving myself anyways, and continuing to keep pushing forward and moving forward. So that's my message for you today. I know I rambled on a little bit, and I'm probably going to ramble in most of these videos, and I apologize in advance. But I really just want you to know that it's okay to fall down. It's okay to fall down, and know that when you do, just keep the reason that you wanted to get up in the first place and do whatever it was in mind when you do fall down, because it will happen at some point in time. And dust yourself back up and get up. Think about this, and this is realize that anything I say to you, like I'm saying to myself, okay? Because I need to hear this just as much as you probably need to hear it, or maybe someone you love needs to hear this. Think about a baby, right? They start crawling, and then they're trying to, you know, stand up, and they're trying to walk, right? I'm sure most of us have seen that at one point in time in our life. And now, what happens when they fall down? Generally, unless they got really hurt, but I mean, I've seen kids tumble pretty hard and still just get back up and keep trying and keep going and keep trying and keep going. Now, there's an exception to that rule. I've seen kids that would have been fine and would have just got back up without any tears and kept going, except for mommy and daddy. One of them, freaks out, or auntie, or, grandma, grandpa, oh my God, are you okay? And then the kid automatically goes, oh, maybe I'm not okay. And then they start crying. Have you ever seen that happen before? I have. One thing that I did with my daughter is I knew I didn't want her to be like that. I knew I didn't want her to panic. I knew that, we fall down in life, it happens. So when she fell down, I wanted to just act like nothing happened. Unless she was hurt. Obviously, then I would go to her. But I would just kind of observe. I wouldn't react. I wouldn't go, or, freak out or run to her. I wanted to just leave her be unless she was hurt. And then I would, go console her and take care of her. And guess what would happen? She didn't cry. She didn't freak out. She would just get back up and try again. So I want you to imagine every time you fall down in life, okay? Every time you fall down in life, imagine you're like the little baby trying to walk. Just get back up, brush yourself off, and keep going towards your goal, okay? That's my message for you. I hope you got something valuable out of this. And I'm going to listen to my own words, and every time I fall down or someone tries to push me down, because there are people that are trying to push me down, get back up, brush yourself off, and keep going. You are worth so much more, and so am I, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.